Hello, Flosstube. Elizabeth Martinez, phantastitches. Here to do my regular update of Flosstube. It's episode number 387. I can't read my own handwriting. 387. Today is Saturday, May 24th. It's the end of the month, almost Labor Day, almost time for the new WIPGO numbers, almost time for the first month of cross-stitch camp, and so on and so forth. Changing over to, I guess, what many consider the official start of summer, which is Memorial Day. For me, it marks 9 years, I guess, since I had my brain tumor removed. The Memorial Day was the Monday that I think it was the 31st that year, that I ended up having my little sort of crisis and had my brain surgery about a week later, and we started down that path, which led to Flosstube eventually, and the rest is history, sort of. So, yeah. So I don't have a whole lot to share, mostly plans. So last week I had a finish, right? Was just one of my WIPGO calls, Wayfaring Stranger. I talked about that last week. And the other WIPGO call, WIP call, was the Raccoon, which is Cottage Garden Samplings, the Year in the Woods. The first Year in the Woods pattern for the new set, the new Year in the Woods part 2 or whatever. The first jar is now out. It's The Wolf is what it's called. By Cottage Garden Samplings, and I'm kind of eager to get that second series started, but I don't know. I'm not going to buy that right away, but I've got my eye on it. And a few other patterns that I saw recently. But anyway, the Raccoon was my number 5 call for WIPGO, and this one I had done very little on it the last couple times I worked on it, and I think I had done just like this flower and the sort of darker part up to here, and one little foot, and some of the darker stuff here on this Raccoon. But this past, actually a little bit more. My goal was 7 days, and I did a little bit more because I kind of wanted to get to a certain point. So I did all of the design stuff, not the fill-in, but on this tail, in between, my cats are killing each other, I can hear them from here. In between these gray squares is like, I think it's one of the this brown color, this darker brown color on the cabin. And then in between the dark, this $37.99, this dark gray, not quite black, is a darker gray, this darker gray that's on the roof here. I did this green frond so that I could get to the cabin, because I have to do the cabin. And that's why I did a couple extra days, just so I could finish the cabin and do a little bit more of this green frond. I have, like, this is in the middle of a thread. And I thought, gosh, I don't want to stop. If I had kept stitching on it through the end of the month, I might actually be able to finish it, maybe, or at least like finish the Raccoon. Like these little things here are, there's big pink flowers at the end of those fronds, and they're white and then brown, and little single stitches in the middle of them. So I did on some of these, you know, I did to get to like the end of this brown thread that I had left. I did some of the stems and things, but I have not done actually any of this pink color except for that one little flower here. It's a fancy floss, this pink, and then this gray that's on his face, this darkest gray that's on the cabin, is another fancy floss, and the rest is all DMC. So what I'd like to do though is like finish this green frond, and these bluish square patterns, diamonds basically, are DMC also. And then all the fill in there is, all that's left here is fancy floss, because I've done, except for those diamonds that are DMC, I've done all the other DMC stuff, and this is all just that dark gray fancy floss to fill in between the line here, the empty spaces on his head and face, and then, like I said, there's a DMC color that's around these gray things, and then the fancy floss is around the darker gray ones. But and then the pink, and then the rest of this green frond only is about, you know, like halfway up there. But so it's close to getting finished. But so I think Wednesday was the official 7th day, and I did a little bit more on Thursday. And yesterday I did not stitch. I stitched only at the very end. I haven't stitched today at all yet. But so I did like an extra day on this, and you know, I kind of get like, you know, I'm still, part of me is monogamous when I'm stitching. I'll stitch one thing until like this. I did one thing until I hit the 7 days, you know, instead of doing like, well, a few hours on day one and then something else, and a few hours on day 2 and then something else. Rather than that, I stitch like however many hours I end up stitching are all on one project. So anyway, that's the way I do it. And so I've made good progress on the raccoon. And so if I don't finish it, I have only a few more days of this month left, and so I don't think I'll finish it, but I've made good progress, and probably next time I pick it up, I'll be able to finish it. So that leaves my other, I have just a few days left of the month. So today's the 24th, so 7 days, about a week, yeah. Left to do my 2 other WIPGO things, which are new starts for the month. My number 19 is one of the, I put on my chart to choose one of the Jingle Bell Bauble ornament, Jingle Ball Bauble Baubles from the Ornament book that came out during the Jingle Ball in December. And so this is called Let It Snow, and this is by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. So these are most of the designs there. So I've done this parrot, not parrot, lovebird, and then so this is Let It Snow, this one here. And so yeah, so that's one. And I just had I spent actually most of yesterday going through all my fabrics, because I have some things coming up for the Jingle Ball. No, not the Jingle Ball. For cross stitch camp, sorry. Cross stitch camp. And I had, so I had several fabrics set aside for those new starts. I was trying to decide, and I had written down the stitch counts and the fabric sizes that would be required for, 28 count, or if I decided to do some other count. I have a few pieces of 25 count Lugana that Hobby Lobby has carried in the past. I think they have a little bit nowadays of that. They have you know, several cuts of Ada, kind of sizes and colors of Ada, but they don't have much else in the way of cross stitch fabric. They have carried some 46 count 46 count Bristol linen. They have a few pieces of those sometimes, and 28 count even weave. And like I said, the 25 count Lugana. They used to carry, you know, a lot more variety, but they've cut back on a lot of that. So it's kind of, you know, hit or miss now. Joann's used to carry several counts of Ada, but also Carolina linen and some Lugana or even weave. And of course that's gone now. So there's the big dog right here. And now Michael's has a little bit of fabric choices. They have a lot of Ada, of course, but then they have like a little bit of like 28 count or something like that, and that's kind of hit or miss because they don't have a whole lot of inventory choices on that. Anyway, and I've kind of resisted buying fabric at the attic, for instance, just because, you know, it can be a little pricier than, you know, like I bought this 28 count even weave at Hobby Lobby, and it's a 14 by 18 piece of fabric for $6. But it's either white or ivory, so I have to, you know, decide, okay, if I want to dye that, you know, what color do I want, whatever. And I have a little bit of stash in the way of fabrics. I have some scraps. I have a little bit of, I haven't cut apart my Rabbit series, and that would leave me some smaller pieces of 32 count fabric. But, you know, I'm kind of chicken about cutting things apart. Well, and especially because the rabbits I did, most of them I try to keep them sort of in the corner of the fabric, but, you know, so I don't know how much I would have left. But anyway, so that's a whole dilemma I went through. But as I started to say, I'm getting off track here. I started to say I'm doing this Let It Snow ornament, and I had done the lovebird previously, and the fabric that I used for the lovebird was this 14 count that I dyed myself, this 14 count Ada in this light blue color that I had dyed myself. I think it was originally it was white, and originally it was like 11 by 17. So this is like an 8 by 10 piece. So it's, you know, nice, big enough for this ornament. Hey, shh, dogs. Okay, the dogs are playing, and anyway, so this is just the corner that I started on. This is part of the border across the top. So this, you know, continues. I think there's like this hump here is the middle of the pattern. Yeah, this third hump right here is where I am. So, you know, it's not very wide across, and so, but I just started with this because I was starting in the corner. I started with the outside border, and I don't know if I'm going to work my way all the way around or whatever. So just as the fancy hits me. Anyway, so that's my start on one of my new starts for Let It Snow. But as I said, I spent most of the day yesterday just, you know, going through all my fabric choices, and I mean, I had already written down all my fabric counts, and I mean the pattern counts, and gone through the fabrics that I had in my stash, and I had decided that for what I'm going to do for Cottage camp, that I needed to buy fabric. So I had bought some pieces of 28 count even weave. And as I said, the package that they come in, let me see if I've got, they have, they supposedly, and supposed is the operative word here. Let me see what I've got. I can put my hands on. Yeah. Yeah. So they come in, you know, with this little label in there, and they say 14 by 18, right? So I pulled this fabric out, and I bought just a little tape measure, because I don't know where my, I have a tape measure somewhere, but this was like, you know, $2 at Hobby Lobby. So I bought this, and so I was, you know, measuring all my fabric choices and stuff, and I spread out a piece of even weave, and it was like 14-ish, not quite 14 by not quite 18, like more like 17. And so I thought, well, you know, I was looking at, you know, 9 by 9, which would be 18. But if it's not really 9 inches, and you know, if it's not really 18 inches across, I'm not going to get 1 piece by 9 or 1 piece of 9. And you know, so I was like trying to, you know, jiggle these around, and I don't need 2 inches of margin especially for Biscornu use, which is what a part of most of what I'm going to be doing for Cottage camp, for instance. I'm doing two Biscornus, but that means that each one is, you know, whatever the one side of the Biscornu is. Say it's 70 by 70 or something, for instance. But that's one side, and then the other side has to be the same thing. So if this piece has to be like, you know, 8 inches square, then this one has to be 8 inches square also. So you need at least 16 inches, right? So, you know, that's the kind of math I was dealing with. And I was afraid that for the larger things that I have were not going to be quite large enough or whatever. So anyway, so I sat here for a long time doing math, like, well, what if I use this piece? Or what if I use that piece? What if I use, you know? So, and decision making is not my strong suit either, so. Anyway, so I spent a lot of time fiddling around and deciding what I was going to do. My other new start for this month is The Parade of Elephants by Hello from Liz Matthews. So this I'm going to be starting in the next couple of days also. So I'm going to do a few days on Let It Snow and a few days on Parade of Elephants. This is a bigger pattern. It's like 153 by 86. But the model here is stitched on fairly neutral fabric. I think it's, let me see what it says, Milk and Honey Linen by Fiber on a Whim is what this fabric is. So it's a fairly neutral, you know, beigeish color. And I happen to have 25 count Lugana in pearl. This is a Hobby Lobby fabric, but it's just like it's off-white, you know, kind of color. And I think because I am averse to stitching on white, anything white, and so I'm going to probably on Memorial Day, sometime this weekend, be dyeing some fabric at my sister Naomi's house, because of course all of my fabric dyes, I've talked about this before, they're all in storage, and so I'm planning to go to her house and do some fabric dyeing for Cottage camp coming up. But also I thought I'll dye this piece of fabric for Parade of Elephants. And all the colors are all DMC colors, and I spent the day fishing those out yesterday too. But so I'm thinking maybe a light wash of green. I think I'm going to do just behind that. Some of the colors of these little banners and stuff are greens, and that's one color that concerns me. I don't want to go too dark, but I think just a little bit of a light wash of that color would be good. But we'll see. I'll think about it. Yeah. And then the thing is that I have some green dye. My sister has blue, some color of blue, and I have a color of green that I picked up. And so, I might do just like I said, just a light wash of that color just to give it some, so that it's not white. So that's, I hope to get to that in the next couple of days. And then for cross-stitch camp, I finally did choose fabric to do this on. And like I said, I'm going to be dyeing fabric for these. So for June, the challenge, of course, was to do something that to indicate whether you're a nighttime stitcher or a daytime stitcher. And theoretically, you could just do like something with, like, if you're a daytime stitcher, something with a sun in it, or flowers, or something you would see during the day. If you're a nighttime stitcher, something you would see at night, like a moon or whatever. So you wouldn't have to do a whole thing, all about moons or all about suns or whatever, but something with a daytime thing or a nighttime thing in it to indicate which period of the day you prefer. But since I don't work, and I don't restrict myself to only stitching during the day or only stitching at night, I stitch both day and night. So I decided to do this, on my sister suggestion, do this Celestial Sisters Biscornu. So of course I'm going to dye light blue fabric and medium dark blue fabric to do the two sides on. And these are all DMC colors. And so I have my two pieces of fabric. I'm going to dye those. And one thing that my sister Eve mentioned, and I thought, that's a good idea. I'm a big fan of Talenti ice cream, of gelato, is basically what it is. And it comes in these lovely little jars, these little plastic jars, and you can't see this because you can see through it in the writing. But anyway, it says Talenti gelato, and this is coffee chocolate chip. It's one of my favorite flavors. But I have a jar, a Talenti jar that's full of orts, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but it's there. It's full. But it's nice and convenient because it has a lid. I washed it out, don't worry. But I read a meme or something once that says something about how one of the things you don't realize until you get older is that how much time you spend going, should I keep that box or throw it away, because it's a really good box. And that's kind of how I am about containers. I have a container fetish. So if something is a really good container, I thought, surely I could use that for something. I don't want to throw that away. But anyway, but she mentioned that it would be good for dyeing smaller pieces because it's a more confined area, and if you have a smaller piece, you can put it in there with just a small amount of dye or whatever, and get a little bit more of a mottled look than if you had a big box or bowl or whatever to put it in. So So this is good actually for dyeing small amounts, and even like you know, a piece like this, if I squished it up and crammed it in there, you know, that's a good way to get modeling on there. It's just, you know, because it's all wadded up and folded up, and so it takes, you know, more dye or less dye, and you know, with those folds like that. It's like the principle of tie-dye, right? With tie-dye, when you know, you knot it up, or you use rubber bands or whatever to squish the fabric up, the dye doesn't get into those squished up, folded up, tied up areas as much. It may to a degree, but not as much as like in the untied areas that are exposed to the larger quantities of dye, or stronger quantities of dye. So by the same token, that's how you get modeling. And so a small container is good for small pieces. So anyway, that's the day and night Celestial Sisters for June. For July, the challenge is something by one of your favorite designers, or your favorite designer. And I had misspoke last week. I thought that this was by Tiny Modernist, but it's not. It's by Ink Circles. Tracy Horner of Ink Circles did this Forget-Me-Nots. This is one of the Nashville Market Night Garden releases. So I have back here the fabrics from the Night Garden set. And it's Stephanie Schaefer of Just Keep Stitching did this just recently. So there's a moon here, and an elephant, which I love, and Forget-Me-Nots. So I'm going to stitch this for my July challenge, and I already cut a small piece of fabric because it's not a very big design, and I'm probably going to dye this also. Now, I don't want to dye it too blue, for instance, because of the flowers here. So I'm thinking about what I'm going to do to dye that exactly, but I'm thinking about it. So anyway, that's what I'm planning for July. And then of course August, the challenge is stitch something new to you. And I've talked about this before, that I'm doing this Cosford Rise is the designer. Starry Night, Biscornu. This is, you know, based on the Vincent van Gogh painting. And so the threads for this are here. And I want to do this a darkish blue, maybe darker than the second to the Celestial Sisters moon color. I'm going to do a little bit darker blue. But these are the threads that are for it. So this one is a little concerning with the darker color because, you know, so it's going to have to be, I think the white will show up, and the gray will show up very well. I mean, it's Trade Wind is the color, so it's kind of a bluish color. I don't want to take it out. I don't think I have to take it out. I actually cut this plastic that it's in because it had one of those, instead of like a seal, you know, like a Ziploc thing, it had like a sticky thing, and I don't like those because I end up sticking them on everything. Anyway, these are the colors for that Biscornu. And so I think everything will show up well on it if it's a darker blue, you know, with the possible exception of this, but I don't know that it's, you know, used to that extent. There's a little bit of it, you can see it around these like little star things. But, you know, but that's my idea of how I will do that. And this is the one, it's a little bit on the larger side. The stitch count is like 101 by 101. And so I needed, you know, larger pieces. But this is actually 18 count Ada. Yeah. So it's the equivalent of 36 count, which is what that model is done on. So this I'm planning on dyeing also. I had a little bit of a scare when I was cutting this out because see that this crease in it. It was like folded square or whatever the piece was, and I had I have a mechanical pencil, and I had just used the stitching, the lines on here as a guide, and I had marked it off, and I went to cut it, and when I went to cut this fabric, in it, it was folded over like this kind of, and I accidentally started to cut it like while it was folded. I started to cut through, and I was like, ah! But fortunately, it didn't. I didn't cut it wrong. I was able to, to stop and realize, because I thought, why does that feel funny? Because it's double thickness, like this. So yeah. Anyway, so this is, I'm planning on doing a little bit darker to try to get that same look that's on that model. But anyway, I think, so that takes me through basically all the stuff I'm doing for Cross Stitch Camp and for my 2 new starts for WIPGO. But that leaves, then I'm waiting to find out from Jessie Marie what the new numbers for WIPGO are, and I'm hoping they're I don't know. I was looking at this going, some of these are kind of exciting. I was looking through it and thinking, I really need to think about all my, because I have, like for each square, I have a new start. And I thought, that means I have to think about fabrics and things like that for all of these new starts. And that's kind of, it's hard for me to have to think about it, because I haven't assigned a fabric, and say, okay, I'm going to do this on this fabric and this on this fabric, that far in advance. I don't do it until I have to actually start. Then I have to go through it all, So, and the other day I shared a whole bunch of fabrics. A whole bunch of threads that I bought, like fancy flosses. The ones that I bought for Starry Night. But as well as some others for some new patterns that I bought recently, I guess, and I have the threads because I bought them by themselves, like at the attic or whatever, and I have like this little bag with all these other threads, and then I'm like, wait, what project was this for? So I realized, yeah, I have to go through those, my new charts that I bought not too long ago that called for these threads, and figure out, oh yeah, this thread is for that project. Excuse me. I'm kind of drinking a lot because just FYI about my personal life thing, I have this weird sore kind of things going on my mouth. It's not like a cold sore exactly, but it's just some funky sore spots in my mouth, and it started a while back, and I thought it was just something I ate, because the day that I noticed it, or the day after it happened or whatever, I had been to the movies and I had eaten popcorn and this and that, and so I thought, well, maybe it was the rough edges of the popcorn, whatever, or the saltiness, but then it didn't go away. So I have like a little sore spot on the bottom of my gums and the tip of my tongue, and I thought, so it like for the next week or so, it didn't go away, and I thought, well, I see my dentist, last Friday I was supposed to go to the dentist, and I thought, you know, if it's still going on, I was switching around with salt water and had mouthwash. I was brushing my teeth, of course. I brush my teeth religiously, I guess. And so I thought, you know, and I'm not eating anything differently. I haven't changed medications. I haven't, you know, done anything differently that I could tell that, you know, I'm not eating or drinking anything different than I normally do. And I don't know what's going on in my mouth. And so I had this dentist appointment coming up last Friday, a week ago. And I thought, well, I'll talk to my dentist then and have him take a look and see if there's anything weird going on and, you know, whatever. So Wednesday, I that Wednesday before last Friday, I was at Walmart getting some stuff, and I was like trying to decide, maybe should I get this type of mouthwash or that type of, you know, lozenge thing. And I thought, you know, I'm not going to throw any money at it until I see the dentist. I'm going to see the dentist on Friday and have them take a look, you know, and then tell me what their recommendation is. And so then Thursday night, sometime during Thursday, it cleared up. It was not bothering me at all, right? I mean, I could still, you know, kind of tell the spots on my tongue. It's like, you know, it feels like almost like when you burn your tongue, when you scald your tongue, you know, that kind of feeling. And so, but Friday when I went for my checkup, I was fine. Right? And so so the dentist looked at it, you know, and she said, well, you know, yeah, I can see that you had some stuff that has happened, but it seems okay, and, you know, just let me know if it gets worse, and I'll, you know, and we can, you know, maybe send you to an oral surgeon if it's still going on or if something is still on. So I was like, fine. So then, so I was fine on Saturday, I think, and then Sunday, I think I was doing okay, and then like, I was at church, and during the service, I put a piece of gum in my mouth, and it was Trident cinnamon flavor. And my mouth, it just hurt so badly. I couldn't even finish chewing the gum. I had to take it out of my mouth. And I don't remember, you know, I mean, it hurt like in those specific areas. I thought, okay, well, you know, my mouth isn't quite healed, and that's why the volatile cinnamon gum, you know, burned my mouth. But then, like, and I guess, like, my sister and I stopped for lunch somewhere, and I had this like baked pasta stuff, and the sauce was, you know, that like spicy marinara kind of sauce. And I don't remember it bothering me while I was eating, because I was able to eat it for lunch and then like the leftovers, you know, for dinner that night. But by Monday, my mouth was messed up again. So middle of the tip of my tongue, this little spot at the bottom of my jaw and the base of my tongue, on the back here, and a little bit on my cheek, on the inside of my cheek, not so much as it was before. But I'm like, what is going on? I don't understand. And I'm like, you know, again, religiously, you know, using mouthwash and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I don't know what's going on. But so that's, you know, that's what's bugging me this week, my mouth. So yeah, we'll see. I was going to talk to my dentist this week, and I ended up not doing it. So I think on not Monday, because Monday's Memorial Day, but Tuesday, if it's still, you know, I think I'm going to talk to my regular doctor and or the dentist again and see if they can, you know, send me to somebody who can tell me what's going on or whatever, you know. Because, you know, I don't want to, I Googled a little bit, but, you know, about like, but not too much about what, you know, because it's, like I said, I can't quite put my finger on what kind of, it's not like a cold sore. It really isn't. But, I don't know. And because of the brain tumor that I have, you know, and it kind of affects the feeling on my right side of my mouth and so I don't chew on this side because there's like on the inside of my mouth it's kind of numb. On the outside it's kind of numb too, but like so I can't chew on the right side of my mouth because I'll bite myself. And I can't really feel like food or whatever that's on this side of my mouth. I can't feel it properly, so everything gets chewed on the left side of my mouth. But I've been doing it for 9 years, ever since the surgery. So what I'm afraid of is just like, have I eat something chewed? Did I do something to my mouth on this side? Is it part of the nerve issue in my mouth with my brain tumor? I don't think it is, but it, it's a concern, I guess. So anyway, TMI, but that's what's going on with me. So I'm hoping that's why I'm drinking so much. And I've tried different things, like maybe I don't drink enough water. Maybe it's I should drink tea instead of soda. And so I've tried a few variations, and as long as it's cold, that's what it gives me some relief. Like the other day I ate one of those, like Italian ice, little push-up, frozen popsicle kind of things, and that helps a lot. I mean, I've been trying to like not eat sugary things because that's contributes to the bacteria and the sores in your mouth or whatever. But the coldness of popsicle things, helps if I numb my mouth, it helps just give me some relief, whatever. Right now, for instance, my cheek doesn't hurt so much, but my tip of my tongue does a lot. And so it's like I keep fussing with it. I'm like, stop, leave it alone. But anyway, like I said, you could skip over this. So I think that's all I've got going on, and not a whole lot of stitching. But like I said, I'm hoping to do a little bit more on Let It Snow, and after I get some dye going on that Parade of Elephants, do that one, because I wanted a little bit of color behind it. But anyway, so I don't have, other than Cottage camp and whatever comes up for WIPGO, I don't have any other plans. But I was watching the Stitche's Flosstube again. This is I think her 10-year, she's been doing Flosstube for 10 years. So she had been talking about that. And I was thinking about that I think I started, in March of 2017-ish. So 8 years I've been doing it, I think. So yeah. But anyway, so she was talking about some patterns that she has going on, and she has 2 in her that were part of her endangered species club that she had going on, and I think she just has them available now individually. There's one that is the right whale. It's an adult whale and a baby whale, and then one called the is an elephant, the Asian elephant, I think. Asian or African, I don't know which elephant, but it's an elephant. And then she also has a pattern called Sleeping in the Strawberries, which is a black cat in a little, few little strawberries. It's on pink fabric. It's not too big, but it's really cute. And she's talking about, how it's, it's really easy to kind of customize for your cat, different colors or whatever for your cat. So yeah, so I was like, I want those patterns, but I'm trying to sort of, declare a little bit of a moratorium purchasing. The other day I was, you know, because I've been sort of consolidating and going through all my things to sort of get ready for, you know, upcoming, for Cottage Camp and all of that, and trying to find all the threads for these projects that are coming up and that sort of thing. And so, like in the night garden pattern, this is one from Nashville. I had purchased the pattern at Nashville as well as the night garden threads, and one thing that I made 2 additional purchases, right? So besides the Forget-Me-Nots elephant pattern, I had purchased these little storklet scissors from, these are actually from Lindy Stitches, I think. Are they? Yeah. And in addition to the night garden threads that I purchased at Nashville, from Nashville. Oh, I don't have these on a ring. I had purchased these Eiffel Tower floss drops. But so, like I said, I purchased these scissors. Thought, oh, scissors! I love scissors. But when I was putting all my fabrics together, ordinarily I have a pair of scissors like in every project order, but I have not divvied these up into project bags or whatever. But I realized these are only some of the scissors that I have. I have like 2 other. I mean, I have, like I said, pretty much a pair in every project. I just happen to have pulled all these out of ones that I've finished lately or whatever. So, yeah. Well, one of these actually goes in some projects that I have, but like, I kind of have a problem. So I have to like reorganize all my scissors and get them into projects and organize all my project bags, you know. Yeah, that's one thing that it's a pain about having everything in storage, is that I don't want to buy more project bags because I have some, but all the ones that I have with me right now are being used, and so I have to kind of consolidate and put more than one project in a bag or whatever, you know. So anyway, that's enough. Okay. So I will see you next week. Hopefully by next week, it'll be by the end of next week, it'll be what, the end of May. I think May ends on a Saturday this month. Yeah, the 31st is Saturday. So of course by then I will have the new WIPGO numbers for June, and I will have theoretically finished my May new starts, or I mean not finished, but worked on, you know, hit the goal, which is nondescript. So I will have done both of my May new starts for WIPGO, and we'll be ready to go with my dyed fabrics for my June Cottage Camp project and my new WIPGO projects, and I'll have all of that ready to lined up for you to be seen on the 31st, next Saturday. So until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me blather on about my tongue. And I will see you next week. Bye.